Willem Jensen was the last clog maker from Holland to come to our city. And his wife would do all the carvings and paintings, and he would do the clog work. She would sit there, and during the winters, he would make clogs for the band here in Minnesota.
While it is common for small communities to embrace and honor their past, few do so with such enthusiasm as Orange City, Iowa. The story of Orange City began in 1869 when skyrocketing land prices around the predominantly Dutch community of Pella encouraged a group of pioneers to seek farmland elsewhere. For years, stories of vast expanses of rich black soil to the northwest had reached their ears, and in April, 3 wagon trains totaling 64 families struck out for this promised land during a trek of 19 days, featuring a difficult river fording resulting in an overturned wagon and a run-in with greedy land scalpers. The pioneers suddenly stopped, looked about them, and cried out, "Here is the place!" They staked out the perimeter of a new town, which they named after the Dutch prince Willem Hendrik, perhaps better known to history as William of Orange. The city flourished, and a flood of settlers, well known for their grit, frugality, stubbornness, unflinching work ethic, and strict religious discipline, rapidly filled the city and surrounding area. But as time passed, Dutch culture began to give way. People anglicized their names, replaced old world traditions with American clothing, cuisine, and pastimes. Their children were taught English in school. Sinterklaas became Santa Claus, and even the klompen, the legendary Dutch wooden shoe, eventually became little more than a novelty. By the 1930s, the original settlers were being rapidly replaced by their children and grandchildren, all of whom harbored a deep respect for the land of their roots, but most of whom had never set foot there. So in 1936, the community began the Tulip Festival, a modest celebration of their Dutch culture and history, held in conjunction with the full bloom of their beloved flower. Early attempts to reproduce the intricate costumes of their ancestors were largely unsuccessful, being instead patchworks of colorful fabrics. But by the 1970s, an increased attention to detail resulted in far more historically precise ensembles. While in more recent years, the additions of a car show, a 5K run, a bike ride, a tractor show, and a midway carnival have expanded the festival in size, it remains at its heart the same cultural celebration it was nearly 90 years ago. So walk with me and discover the many sights and sounds of the 83rd Orange City Tulip Festival. While it is officially billed at 3 days in length, the festival in reality spans a full week, starting with the Monday evening premiere of its traditional Broadway-style show, and ending with a community-wide worship service Sunday morning. Our visit began Tuesday evening with a showing of Footloose, performed by local amateur talent. In the early years, visitors were treated to band performances, but by the 1950s, musical stage plays became the norm.
Brent's leaving Chicago. You're leaving Chicago? That's right, I'm leaving you clowns with a wide open...
For anyone with an aversion to large crowds, I recommend a visit on Thursday. The festival is in full swing by Thursday morning, but the crowds are light and the parking is very reasonable. Our first stop was Windmill Park, with its flags representing each of the 12 Netherlands provinces. And beneath those, the world-famous tulip beds, filled with spectacular color. Some unseasonably warm weather in April caused many of the tulips to bloom and therefore spoil a little too soon. But I had stopped by a week prior to the festival and shot this footage, so we'll fake it a little bit. A few steps away is the Orange City Pump. And just to the south of that are replicas of the various windmills and bridges that remind residents of their ancestral home. Across the street sits the Dutch street organ, a stunning piece of musical equipment. Every day at 10:30 sharp, its sweet yet booming refrains can be heard for blocks around. Serving as both the organ storage building and an interesting Dutch cultural center in and of itself is the Straatcentrum, where the walls are filled with plenty of stories about the Dutch history in Sioux County. In the back sits the Clog Shop, a fully functional wooden shoe manufacturing facility. Not all Tulip Festival attractions can be found downtown, however. A few blocks to the southeast sits the Chamber of Commerce offices. Originally built as a drive-through bank, the 76-foot tall structure and its excellent flower bed provide an unbeatable photo opportunity. Don't forget to stop at the Veterans Memorial, mere steps away. The south end of town is home to the family-owned paint manufacturer Diamond Vogel and the Old Mill, a windmill designed to grind paint pigments. The building itself is a replica of the old-fashioned windmills of Holland, where Andrew Vogel, the company's founder, grew up. But inside rests a wealth of genuine Dutch artifacts. This has also been the shooting location for the Tulip Queen and her court for decades. Several local businesses enjoy dressing up for the occasion, including Iowa State Bank with its fantastic tulip display, and the Lennox dealership's display of authentically dressed dolls and cookie tins. Back downtown, we took in the many classic designs and models on display at the Antique Tractor Show. We were getting a little hungry, so we began making our way to the food vendors. First passing through the Artburst stalls, enjoying the many different items on display and for sale along the way. The street market is packed to the brim with many different vendors, together offering a wide variety of both traditional Dutch and more modern cuisine. We convinced Madeline here to try an almond patty. Not a fan, I guess. Our appetite satisfied, we decided we had had enough culture for one day, and it was time for some rides. Rather than walk, however, we elected to travel in style via the many pedicabs available in the area. The Midway Carnival has been a Tulip Festival staple for as long as I can remember, and can always be relied on to provide a silly bit of fun. After a trip around the Ferris wheel and down the big slide, we called it a day so we could rest our sore feet. With the dawn comes a slew of new events and opportunities. Starting with the Tour de Tulips, a pleasant 45-minute bike ride to nearby Morris. With the cyclists out of the way, the nervous energy amongst the runners begins to grow, as they await the starting whistle. Soon, the mass of humanity surges forward, and the contest is underway. I especially enjoyed the sight of this fella here, who ran the entire race in fatigues, boots, and a rucksack. Thank you for your service, sir. We were bitten by the culture bug, so we made our way to the Dutch American Heritage Museum. It is operated by the Dutch American Heritage Society, and I was really impressed by the high number of quality artifacts on display, along with a plethora of valuable information and friendly, helpful staff. Next door is the Annex, a must-see for anyone interested in the many exploits of Orange City's military veterans. And it was an extra treat to listen to these old standard bearers tell stories as they waited for the next parade to begin. Mere steps to the south rests the old schoolhouse, containing a wealth of historical artifacts and information pertaining to the early days of Orange City's education system. And along with that, another important facility is on display. On our way to the next location, we stopped by to admire the many gorgeous varieties of tulips available for sale at the Tulip Town Bulb Company. After urging our tired feet along some more, we arrived at the Century Home. Built in 1900 by the city's first mayor, it is bursting with amazing items from that period. With several volunteer storytellers available to fill us in on the rich history of turn-of-the-century Orange City. As a huge Victorian history nerd, I found this stop to be my favorite of the entire weekend. just as we were leaving the Century home, it was time for the Klompenmaker stalls to open. So we rushed over to catch sight of perhaps the most unique and rewarding attraction the festival has to offer. Watching these gentlemen crafting functional shoes out of wood blocks using old world tools and techniques was an incredible experience. Shoe carver Ben Comp took considerable time to both show and thoroughly explain every facet of the process. With that finished, there was only one more event left. The People's Parade. The early afternoon parades feature a traditional street scrubbing to provide a clean path for festival royalty, but we unfortunately missed that. However, I do have some pictures here provided by my Aunt Linda from their visit in 1986. I can assure you that little has changed since then. Well, there you have it. This video is meant just as a primer and only scratches the surface of the many sights and sounds of the Orange City Tulip Festival. There is so much to see and do I couldn't possibly get to all of it. So if you're planning a trip to the Midwest in the future, please consider putting Orange City during the third weekend of May on your list of possibilities. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you there.